The Fields Above by M.R. Mays. Chapter 1 Tax Time. Chris Gidley was a man of action, the best damn man the 21st century had to offer, and he never spoke out of line. His words were the repetitious series which were passed down to him by the structures of society, which was his home. While gawking at the world as an early infant, Chris constantly exerted his infant body's energy and attention towards mimicking the other more mature versions of himself. Nobody had told him to do this, but he did it anyways. This became far more specific as his double-digit years approached. The more he looked like a grown man, the more he yearned to act like one. It seemed natural to grow as well as it seemed natural to say certain words more than or feel certain things towards other words. By the time Chris had made into his 20s, he was sure that bleeding in was the golden method in which one could succeed in the world. In fact, Mr. Gidley had decided upon himself to mimic the exact behavior of everyone he encountered, as to ascertain with certainty his success as a human being. It was only several years after such revelations Chris would also ascertain a wife. Her name was Margaret, and although she was a decent-hearted woman, he seen her as terribly mediocre. However, Chris knew from the norm that this would not last for long anyways, and so he needn't worry. Chris and Margaret lived in a one-bedroom apartment in the not-so-pretty side of town. They would have been concerned as for the shady neighborhood fiends it brought around, but they knew it was just folk even worse off than themselves. Far beyond violence, a slow, murky depression lurked their minds, a danger only to themselves. Though unsightly, these unanimated creatures proved great inspiration as a muse wearing a Giovanni suit would have floated above him while he slept, whispering, "Don't fuck up now, you hear." This muse was also fit, balding, and vigorously tanned. This was the strange thing about living in the 21st century. The general population's food was always sprayed down with chemicals for different reasons. Whether or not it was intentional, the side effects created what was eventually called the misty fog, for it disconcerned a person of things that would otherwise concern them. It's only when a person somehow accumulates enough money to afford premium food that the fog begins to clear. This would then otherwise cause anger or content, for they would possess the ability to either continuously progress their wealth and be aware of it, or try to pull others out of the fog. This was called a turnout. Although Chris and Margaret would obtain one of these turnouts, Chris would never be free from his haze. "Margaret, what the hell, woman? Where are my socks? 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock coming fast." That woman knows what this job means and what I have to do to keep it. Doesn't matter how many times I tell her, she just never pulls herself together and gets any damn work around this place. "They're in the closet. Look for them, you dimwit." The attitude of that woman. I become even more enraged as I find my socks quickly upon searching in the closet. Still, she needn't be so damn rude. Nonetheless, I've got to be bigger, man, and evoke civility. "What time is your interview today, honey?" "Oh, honey, now is it? Well, dear, it's at 11 o'clock sharp. Might go into lunch if we get lucky." "What do you mean, if you get lucky?" "I mean, dear, that if the interview with Jaworski goes well, then we'll probably go for lunch, and if that happens, well, give me 5 minutes alone with him, and I imagine I can skip my way through a couple of those lower pegs of the ladder." She smirks while finally we make eye contact, and it pierces my gut like a knife from the inside. This insidious woman. She knows damn well what she's doing. One slightly promising position appears, and she thinks she's Queen Tootsie now. "And what the hell do you mean by that now, woman? Why do you need to work for what I can only assume is a Jew? Don't you get it? It's people like him that the money system's so unevenly balanced. Them and their father's banks." Margaret stops everything she's doing and stares at me as if the mother of an infant that's done something terribly wrong. "First of all, Chris, you know damn well to watch your tone with that woman shit. Secondly, you're an anti-Semitic asshole and a moron. Any person with some sense to spare knows those banks are all American. Used to be a person who couldn't hide $1 in a deposit account without such a box reading 'Made in the USA' on the back. Yes, times are hard, but they were a lot worse for our fathers." My breath in half and I am speechless. You know, I didn't know my father. "Yes, well, I knew mine, and it's because of men like him that things are changing. And men like you why the world was the way it was at all. Now get your ass to work, Christopher, before you really spoil my mood." And with that, I shut my mouth, tie my shoes, and make my way to work. I don't know why I even try with that. Marge, I'm good at getting mad, but I'm certainly no good at arguing. I never know what I'm angry at. It's a short walk to work, and the weather's not too bad. Prosperous signs that the day's turning around. I walk past the coffee shop. Not that I can't afford it, though not far from reality. I merely forgot my change with this morning's debacle. A moment later, I walk past the gym, not because I forgot my money, but because I can't afford it. I get to the office, and Janica's just pulling in with her new 29 hybrid. She's just a secretary. Her boyfriend's success, I would assume, to be the cause of this. A wrongful tilt in the balance. I always think to myself, when a person who works half as much possesses twice as much as you, that's society for you, goddamn. "Hey there, Janica. Wicked ride." "Hey, Chris, and thanks. Birthday present from Bill, that sweetheart." Jenica glances at me as if seeing the trail I left with my feet. "Say, Chris, you should just give me a shout if you need, and I'll come pick you up. Far as I see it, the more I'm in Susie, the happier I am." "Susie? Oh, haha, yes, Susie is the name of the car. I called her Susie. I see, and what a very pretty name it is. I notice her give me a glance as Janica opens the door to the office for me. My sarcasm clearly detected. So, Bill, he must have gotten a promotion or something, did he? Didn't know managing to grow up at the grocery store paid that well, nor left much room to grow, for that matter. Oh, yeah, well, Bill actually wasn't ever really good at that. They had to let him go after they found out he could never grow a full batch. Now he got a new job with a pretty big company, top secret or something of the sort though. All a bit strange, but we can't say no to the money. That is all pretty strange. Do you think they're hiring? I say so eagerly, and she chuckles for it. How about I tell Bill you're interested, and he'll get a hold of you if ever there's the possibility of a position. Janica, I would love you forever. Well, don't love me yet. Bill's been coming home rather exhausted and always seems a little distraught. The job, I would assume, is very straining, and that's if you even get it. I need it, though. I really need it. Me and Marge were sort of expecting a little one. As excited as I am, I know I can't raise a child in the state we're in. Oh, Chris, how wonderful. Listen, give me your number. I'll tell Bill. I'll say, Bill, Chris here's a good man. A good man and a hard worker. I say, you see if you can't give him a job, and I'll bet he'll make you look all the better. She pauses for a moment, then winks at me. I'll even tell him there's a surprise for him after he gets you a job. My dear Jenica, your loveliness knows no bounds. I smile, write my number down, and hand it over to her. She prepares to call someone. I then head towards the garage and clock in. Furthermore, entering the garage and to my cubicle, I start out my computer, log in, and await my first vehicle. A notification pops up and reads 22 Hybrid Pickup Model AC124367. I click on it and the screen begins shifting through components until any faults are found, which are. It zooms through all 639 pieces instantaneously before delivering a final memo box with one large print word surrounded by red, which read, Fix All. I clicked, and another car showed up. The scan begins, and I wait my turn. Soon, I wonder if they won't need me at all. Chris Gidley had no idea, but that very afternoon he would receive a very formal and precise memo detailing the computer's upgrade. This letter was written completely without emotion, and would inform Chris how his computer now would be able to press the Fix All button by itself. This would not steer Chris right, for although he does what he's told, he goes through all the motions he was taught by society that surrounds him. Despite doing everything in his power to be just like the norm, the world seemed reluctant to accept him. This day, being the most treacherous, to say the least, would continue to take a hellish turn as while Chris arrives at what he had to call a home, his last paycheck in his grasp, as if life itself. Margaret had too had enough. This was not for he had continuously come to fail at holding a job. She knew this wasn't his fault, for she was very much conscious and aware of how the world worked around her, and it was very hard for men. And so, it wasn't this that disgusted her about him, but his lack of awareness in himself. Between not having a real clue to be found on how or what he can do to thrive here at the dawn of the future, being an asshole, Gidley's chances of happiness dimmed as if candles lit on a windy day. That very same day, a tragedy also became of two sailors on the outskirts of town, a father and a son, making do with what they thought was free man's land. It would become clear to them later in the morning. The new companies that have been installing themselves since the bank stepped down from the throne, their intent being as pure as it was still, could not and would not carry on in absolution. The companies grew stronger every day. Shares for these companies were also very much available to the public. The one man would own the majority shares of that which was most important, which was free energy. This man did not abuse his responsibility. His creed, like any other company's ought to be, was to serve and please the purposes of the people. All while under a watchful eye, the public simply would not allow being controlled like sheep yet again. Wholesale food markets were run by new agriculture companies which held hydroponic systems right there in the stores, which grew vegetables and fruits people needed to sustain. Meat became redundant and people became healthy as the chemicals ceased and the fogs dismissed. To most, this was a beautiful time. To others, they just didn't know or care. However, there always remained the few that no matter what they are shown or have seen will always desire to manage, control, and capitalize on the world and its inhabitants. The world-conquering archetype is long since as powerful, but it's rooted deep enough still to claim influence upon leaders of the new.